So you may have seen the news reports this afternoon. The chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee sold more than $1 million in stock in mid-February after learning how devastating the Chinese coronavirus could be. He had inside information about what could happen to our country, which is now happening, but he didn't warn the public. He didn't give a primetime address. He didn't go on television to sound the alarm. He didn't even disavow an op-ed he'd written just 10 days before claiming America was, quote, better prepared than ever for coronavirus. He didn't do any of those things. Instead, what did he do? He dumped his shares in hotel stocks so he wouldn't lose money. And then he stayed silent. Now, maybe there's an honest explanation for what he did. If there is, he should share it with the rest of us immediately. Otherwise, he must resign from the Senate and face prosecution for insider trading. There is no greater moral crime than betraying your country in a time of crisis. And that appears to be what happened. We'll have more on the story tomorrow.
Do you realize how royally a Republican senator needs to have screwed up to get Tucker Carlson to call for his resignation? To get Tucker Carlson to say something that people could agree with? And yet Richard Burr managed to do exactly that amid the news that the Republican senator and chairman of the Senate Intel Committee sold between $628,000 and $1.7 million worth of his stock holdings after receiving daily briefings on the impending pandemic, while simultaneously reassuring the public about just how well prepared we were. On February 7th, he wrote an op-ed in which he assured the public that, quote, the United States today is better prepared than ever before to face emerging public health threats, like the coronavirus. No matter the outbreak or threat, Congress and the federal government have been vigilant in identifying gaps in its readiness efforts and improving its response capabilities. And yet, while he was comforting us that everything was going to be totally fine, NPR obtained a recording from February 27th in which the Senate Republican reportedly gave a VIP group at an exclusive social club a much more dire assessment of the economic impact of coronavirus. He said, "There's one thing that I can tell you about this. It is much more aggressive in its transmission than anything that we have seen in recent history. It is probably more akin to the 1918 pandemic." And by the way, the group that Burr spoke with is called the Tar Heel Circle, which charges up to $10,000 for membership. Although, apparently you make that up in financial tips from Republican senators. And when NPR reached out to Burr's office for a comment about the report of his stock sales, his spokesperson, Caitlin Carroll, replied, LOL. Also, here's a fun fact. The Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge, or STOCK Act, designed to combat insider trading by members of Congress, which was signed into law by Obama in 2012, had passed the Senate 96-3. The three nay votes were Thomas Coburn, Jeff Bingaman, and, you guessed it, Richard Burr. But while the whole country was finding out about Richard Burr, another bombshell report surfaced immediately thereafter, showing that Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler also sold off as much as $3.1 million worth of holdings. And her sale came on January 24th, which was the exact same day that the Senate Health Committee hosted a private all-senator briefing from the White House. She even tweeted that day, "Appreciate today's briefing from the president's top health officials on the novel coronavirus outbreak. These men and women are working around the clock to keep our country safe and healthy." I wonder what part she appreciated most, because I'll bet it was the part where she made herself a few $1 million. She even went on to tweet again, "Democrats have dangerously and intentionally misled the American people on coronavirus readiness. Here's the truth. Donald Trump and his administration are doing a great job working to keep Americans healthy and safe." Yes, clearly it was the Democrats misleading the American people. I can give you about 3.1 million reasons why that is complete BS. And it wasn't even just tweets. She actually recorded a video days after dumping her stock, ensuring Americans just how strong the economy was.
I wanted to give you an update on the coronavirus situation following a meeting today that we had in the Senate with the President, the Vice President, and Secretary Mnuchin. We talked in the meeting today about some additional responses that the administration is looking to take to make sure that consumers are protected, that we have all the medical testing that we need, and that the economy stays strong. The good news is the consumer is strong, the economy is strong, jobs are growing. Our president has done a fantastic job making sure that we're in the best position to manage through this situation.
Kinda takes on a whole new level of hypocrisy when you consider that she wanted no part of the economy that she was busy touting to the lowly American people. And I'll just do my best to channel Billy Mays here when I say, but wait, there's more. Republican Senator Jim Inhofe dumped as much as $500,000 in stocks 3 days after the Senate briefing. And I know you're not gonna believe this, but this isn't even the first time time that Inhofe has come under fire for fortuitous stock purchases. Not even 2 years ago, Inhofe purchased tens of thousands of dollars of stock in Raytheon, a leading defense contractor, just a week after he successfully lobbied the Trump administration to increase military spending. Now, there's no telling who else will be exposed here, but for the time being, there's no reason why there shouldn't be at least 2 open Senate seats at the end of this. But this problem didn't start with Burr or Loeffler. All we've seen from the Republican Party is mismanagement, which alone is already enough to call this the single worst handled response to a crisis in American history. But watching these Republican senators get filthy rich while the rest of us are enduring an economic crash and losing jobs and going broke is beyond the pale. It's absolutely depraved. Republicans, from Trump on down, have shown on an almost comically frequent basis that they are, and always have been, only looking out for one person throughout all of this: themselves.